What's up gamers, RussLyman here. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made not one, but two MegaMan custom controllers. Coming up.
Russ, what you doing? Russ, what you doing? Russ, what you doing? Let's find out.
Now, MegaMan is definitely a big inspiration to gaming and a lot of people enjoy it. Heck, I even got a tattoo of them right here. Definitely one of my favorites. So when I was reached out by one of my friends to make a MegaMan controller for him and his buddy, I had to take the opportunity. So let's check out how I did it. Now, much like any of my NES controller builds, I take apart the controller. I have to take all the components out of it, clean it, and get it prepped for either paint or clay, depending on what type of modification we're doing to the controller. And with MegaMan, I kind of wanted to go this route of it being almost like a robot in itself. Mechanical parts, bolts and nuts, maybe circuit boards. Now again, I like to clean everything to make sure it's in great working order, and I'm just using a little bit rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip, cleaning the circuit boards and the rubber membrane so they have good contact later when I put the controller back together. Now going with that robot theme, I wanted to add some actual metal parts to it, screws, nuts, and bolts, so I was going through my parts bin, seeing what I could find. Alright, so I got the controller all cleaned up and ready to go on to the next step. And I have my little tray here of parts. Now I want to go outside and use my Dremel tool and cut some of these bolts, so I just get the tips of them. I can't really do that in here because sparks are going to fly, but I want to use a lot of these mechanical pieces that I'll be putting into the controller to make it more like a robot, so it has that MegaMan theme. So let's head outside. And some of the bolts, well, I just needed the head of the bolt, so I headed outside and used my Dremel just to hack off the top portion of the bolts or nuts that I found. This way I can add them to the controller later on. And well, you definitely want to do this outside because sparks are gonna fly. Alright, it's a little cold out, but that's alright. We're outside, be safe. And I just got the last piece here. I got a NES board right here for one of the controllers that doesn't work, so I'm going to cut it up and maybe use bits of the board on there. I'm just going to use the same cut-off wheel just to cut bits off of this. Alright, we're back. We got our parts here, so now I'm going to get to the next step with the controller, and I'm going to be adding some clay. I have with me some epoxy sculpt right here. This is a two-part clay. You go 50-50%, mixing them together, and the clay will harden. No baking needed. So I'm going to apply it on the controller itself and then press in some of these bolts and stuff around the controller to make it look more robotic. Now, one thing that I didn't mention in some of my other build videos, this epoxy sculpt that I'm using, you can get it in colors. The first batch that I had was in a gray, and when I reordered, I didn't realize that, so I got black. So it's a little messy to work with. So I have some of the old clay in the video and some of the new clay. Definitely gets all over your hands, but when I reorder again, I'm gonna wanna use the lighter clay. This way it's also easier for paint. You don't have to really put too many coats on it because it will adhere to the lighter clay better. But I guess if you wanted a black part, this works great. I started using some of the clay and making my own little like rivet points or like wires that would be on it. And some actual wires were protruding out of the controller. I thought that would be kind of cool. And then basically it went down to paint, grabbing acrylic paint. These are again cheap acrylic paints you could get at any craft store, Walmart. They're $1 or $2 per container. And for MegaMan's colors, of course, we got to use blue. 2 shades of blue, basically a regular blue or royal blue and a cyan color. And again, I'm just painting this on. You kind of want to go light with it. You could do multiple coats, and I usually have a fan set up to the side to help with dry time. Having that moving air over the controller really speeds up the dry time, so I'll put the controller down, let it dry for 5 minutes or so, and then go back and hit more paint on there to get another coat. So of course, being a robot, it's gonna have oil and grime and stuff like that, so I want to put a black wash on it, basically some black acrylic paint, really watered down, and just put it all over the controller so it could get in those crevices and kind of dirty up the controller a little bit more, make it more organic and I guess realistic to be if it was a robot. And that's basically a process in itself, adding more black wash, wiping it off until you think it looks right. You can overdo it, but what's great is, you don't let it sit too long and you can use that rag to kind of take it back in case you went too far. And then what I did to add some highlights to it, I took some silver paint, kind of like a metallic silver paint, and just lightly brushed some portions of it where metal would have shown through, or maybe it didn't wear all the way on that part there. And those parts then pop out and really stand out with the black wash on there, and then you have your silver highlights. And here's a quick look at what the controllers look like once I have the colors on it and the dirt, grime, highlights, and everything. Looking really nice. We're just gonna have to clear coat them so it protects the finish. So I'm gonna bring it out to my paint booth and put a couple clear coats on there. And again, I'm using my favorite clear coat by RussLyman. It's crystal clear, and I'll put usually 3 coats on there, 10 to 15 minutes in between each coat, and then let it sit for at least 24 hours so it fully cures. And now that the clear coat has dried for 24 hours, the last step was to put the decal on. And these decals are great. It has MegaMan on there, the classic MegaMan logo, and Dr. Wily, tying the whole MegaMan theme together. Once that's on, just add the buttons back together and assemble the controller, and of course test it to make sure it works. Guys, so there it is. There's the custom controllers. They're all set up. You can see they can work as well. They're not just a display item. A little comfortable in the hands, with the bits that I put on it to make it more robotic. It's not too bad. It doesn't rub on you that much. A lot of it's clay in the back anyways, but I really enjoyed how it turned out. Thought it came together as a great theme though, so hopefully these guys are going to be happy with their 2 controllers. Might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it could give you some direction in case you wanted to attempt this. You could dial it back and just do the colors and add a decal and not put any clay on it and just keep it basic, and that's fine too. But sometimes I want to try to push the bar and, see what we could come up with. And if you guys enjoyed this video, hopefully you can check out my other Nintendo controllers that I did. I did a fun boxing glove controller for Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! I did one for Karate Kid as well that looks like bamboo. There'll be a full playlist in case you guys want to check out the older videos. And well, as always gamers, I'm RussLyman, and keep your world fun bit by bit. I'll see you next video! And I want to give a super shout out to my Patreon supporters: Dan Buchanan, Joey Ellis, George Sandoval, Joseph Riviera, Nintendo, Joe Sheevy, David Apuzzo, Maynard, Brian Culpepper, TechWizX, Matthew Hannigan, Alex Kaz, and my 2 newest supporters, Ayan Oshi and Amanda Bartlett. Link below if you want to join, and I'll see you later!